Ryan Poles believes this draft could get wild on Thursday night in Green Bay. Let's talk about why he thinks that may be the case.
Bend over to your right.
What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans? People want to hear me talk.
What's going on, Bears fans, and welcome to another episode of the Nicholas Moreano Show. I'm your host, Nicholas Moreano. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this YouTube channel with a fellow Bears fan. Just got back from Halas Hall not too long ago and wanted to just share some of the top takeaways from some of the press conferences that happened. The Brian Piccolo Award ceremony was there today, and then Ian Cunningham, Ryan Poles, spoke to the media just 2 days ahead of the 2025 NFL draft. And as the headline suggests, things could get wild, according to Ryan Poles. But hey, for the YouTube people on here, appreciate you guys for tuning in on your Tuesday afternoon. And then if you're an audio listener, this show will be out not too long after this show wraps up here, but Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, you can find it there as well. So appreciate everyone for all the support. Since this channel has been really stepping up and, I've been putting out more consistent content, but here for you guys. And let's just get into some of the top takeaways from, I want to start really with Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, and then we can work our way back to the Brian Piccolo Award ceremony, even though that did happen first today at Halas Hall. And for those that don't know, it's an award that's given out every year in honor of Brian Piccolo, and this year's award winners always goes to a veteran and also a rookie. TJ Edwards, second year in a row for him to win the award. And then Rome Odunze was the rookie recipient. So I think both those guys very deserving, especially not only what they do on the football field, but really too, that award's going to highlight what those guys mean as a teammate and what they do off of it. So very deserving. We can talk about what they said, just in their individual press conferences that they said in front of the media, and also in front of the large group of people that were in attendance watching that award ceremony. But like I said, that'll probably be at the back half, shorter part of this show, because I do want to highlight what was said from Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham in today's press conference. And also, if you're watching the show, I saw a couple of comments, just not even in the last show, but previous shows about, I don't know, maybe the bit rate with the streams. I modified some settings in the camera. I don't know if it looks better, sounds better, if it looks more smooth, if it looks worse. I have no idea, but I was like going on Google and trying to find out what can I do. So I changed a couple of settings. So if you notice something, whether it's for better or worse, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely check it out. Or if you want to leave a comment after the show wraps up, feel free. But I'm also looking at the live chat right here so I can see if there's anything wrong or if it's potentially going smoothly, which would be fantastic. But let's get into it. And like I said, Ryan Poles mentioned before he even took questions, kind of in opening comments, that he thinks this draft could get a little wild. A little wild is how he phrased it. And I think one of the first questions, if not the first question, was like, why? Why do you believe this draft could get wild? And Ryan Poles' answer was this. There's a couple of factors why he believes that, but here's what he said. Yeah, I think it's deeper in certain areas than others. Usually the cutoff is a little bit quicker once you kind of get into rounds 2 and 3. And this one is going to be a little bit different. There's going to be a lot more movement than there has been in the past. I thought that was interesting too. Not only, just how he's viewing it as of right now, but movement. And movement can mean, a bunch of different things. It can mean teams wanting to pursue to move up to get maybe what is viewed as the maybe 5 to 6 blue chip prospects, or moving backwards because you don't like where you're probably selecting at if you're outside of that range of those blue chip prospects. So movement is what the Bears are kind of expecting, or that's what Ryan Poles is expecting based off his comments. But it is interesting to hear that from him. And I thought it was, I forgot who exactly posted this on their social media, but just kind of scrolling through Twitter when I'm kind of winding down at Halas Hall. But the whole the pool, I believe it was Brad Biggs from the Chicago Tribune asked how big is the pool of players for pick 10. And I'll read you Ryan Poles' answer, but I think it's going to be best for you to also go to listen to Ryan Poles, watch him answer this question. And the opinions on this answer, I think, varied in completely different directions. And I'll tell you what I believe based off of this comment. But this is what Ryan Poles said when asked, how big is the pool of players for pick 10? I'm just going to read it verbatim how I transcribed it. Yeah. This is a large pool of very good football players. And then I think you can do some different things to get more players that are going to be able to come in and help your team quickly. 1, 2, 3 to start each of his first 3 sentences. And like I said, I'm not even doing it justice by reading his words. You can check that out. I don't mind if you go check it out and come back, but you got to come back to the show. But it was definitely not a definitive response. There were in the answer, and you could take this for a number of different ways. But if you're taking it surface value, where he says very good, like it's a large pool of very good football players. If you take that surface level value, then to me, if that's the case, then whoever lands at 10, they'll be fine with taking. But just reading some comments on social media, how Bears fans took it, some are thinking, oh, does this sound like Ryan Poles wants to move up? Initially when I read it and heard it, I'm like, sounds like if anything, you'd want to move back because there's so many good players at 10 apparently that if you'd feel comfortable maybe moving back a couple of slots, if somebody else wants to move up to get a potential player that they believe they need to have, then you can move back because you feel comfortable with the entire group. But you could take it either way. To me, I don't know how much I believe there's a large pool of football players that they take at 10. I think there's a good amount. I don't know about large, right? If both the tackles come off, no Ashton Genty, and let's say even Tyler Warren's gone, then how good do you feel about that large pool at that point? But if it is that extensive, then should be good about what you could potentially get at 10. But I thought that was interesting how people were perceiving it. And here's the biggest thing too. This press conference, two days before night 1 of the NFL draft, you're not going to get anything. I don't care, how genuine these guys were trying to be. They're not gonna reveal anything 2 days before the draft. They had worked they've been so detailed in everything that they've been doing up to this point that if they were to reveal anything at this point in time to the media that revealed anything of what they were actually thinking of doing in this upcoming draft, that would be detrimental to the team. And they know that. So they're not going to give you really anything that actual substance. We can read between the tea leaves. We can try to decipher things. We can try to go through it by but that's how you can't. That's why you can't just take everything for surface value of everything that you're reading from today, from these press conferences from Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham. But that question and that answer definitely got a lot of traction about what the Bears can potentially be doing with the 10th overall pick and how the Bears actually truly feel about it. So that one was interesting. I also thought it was really interesting, again, how much you want to believe it, when Ryan Poles was asked about Darnell Wright and the possibility of him playing left tackle if something materializes in this draft when you're looking at maybe drafting, another offensive tackle and potentially moving Darnell Wright. And this is the answer that Ryan Poles gave. which again, I think is interesting, but how much of it is true? Yeah, I think that is a conversation. We'll see how everything goes. He clearly has the ability to play left and right. We saw that in college at Tennessee. That was part of the value in taking Darnell. So if he had to play left, he can play left. And obviously, I think we're all excited about his stuff to go right. Let's just, for the sake of the comment, let's just take that as it is. Okay. They like Darnell Wright. They like Darnell Wright because of his position flexibility, versatility, being able to play on the left and right side. And if he had to play left, he can, and they feel good about him playing left. That would mean like somebody like an Armand Membu. I should know the exact pronunciation by this point in time, but Membu. He's a guy that plays right tackle. So if that is the case for the Bears and they want to select Membu from Missouri with 10 overall if he's there, and then slide over Darnell Wright to the left side, that's one way of configuring the offensive line. To me, I still don't think that is. It's not that it's not an option. I just don't think it's the right option or the actual option that will happen come draft night. But what does that also say about what the Bears kind of believe or think about their left tackles right now with Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji? If you're willing to just take Darnell Wright and move him to the left, means you probably didn't value them as highly as you've been talking about them, right? I mean, that's just how I would view it. If you're going to go take a top 10 pick and place them at right tackle and move over Darnell, and I don't know how much you really liked your left tackles. So I don't think that's the plan for Darnell to switch sides after 2 seasons of right tackle. And does he have that experience, or did he have that experience in Tennessee? He did, but he has been playing right tackle the past 2 seasons in the NFL. I don't know. To me, that just it just, for me, just wouldn't be the best move overall. Could Darnell learn it? But I mean, I don't want to put a cap on what he can or can't do, but I just don't, like I said, I just don't think that's going to be the move. And again, that could just be putting out information to every other team now. Hey, the Bears could be in at a right tackle. Armand Membu is maybe a possible on the radar for that position specifically. So if you're thinking about taking him past 10, you're going to have to move up. Who knows? Who knows? And then another key detail that Ryan Poles revealed in his about 7 minutes of availability was with Joe Thuney, and if he would be next in line for an extension. And Ryan Poles really quickly, yeah, I think that is definitely one of the priorities moving forward. And I think that's really important, you guys, because when you give up a 2026 4th round draft pick to get a guy like that, you don't want it to be one and done. And you know what hasn't really been talked about? Not that I've seen, and I haven't talked about it myself, so maybe I can only speak for myself. But Ryan Poles did the exact same thing, essentially, giving up a 4th round draft pick for Keenan Allen. Extension never got done. So you got Keenan Allen for a 4th round draft pick for a season. And that was it. Now he's still looking for his next team. And I'm sure if, the money, if it really worked out, he would have maybe been here longer, but that's not the case at this point. And I think you got to be a little bit more critical of Ryan Poles for that move, because it was literally, how many games did Keenan Allen actually play? Because that's what you also got to factor in here. You traded a 4th round draft pick to the Chargers, and Keenan Allen, 70 receptions, 744 yards, 7 touchdowns. So he did some good things for the Bears. I'm not saying that, not denying that at all. But you did it for 1 year, a guy that played 15 games, so actually relatively healthy. Especially the last couple of years, he had missed some time, but you did that for a year. That's you can't have that same type of business for Joe Thuney, especially because I think he's still got plenty of years left. I want to say plenty. That sounds like a lot, but 2 to 3 good years of football at the left guard position. Don't let that guy walk. Make that priority. Make it something that materializes here, just like they got the extensions for Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, and Ryan Poles was, saying that he was super happy to get that done for Edwards and obviously for Kyler Gordon. So that is definitely the next thing that we should come to expect here from Joe Thuney, that they lock him up for, after this 2025 season. And then really, you guys, there wasn't too much else. I do have, here I transcribed, will it be tougher to trade back? I think it was Courtney Cronin that asked this question. Ryan Poles said, potentially, there's a lot of phone calls going on right now. So it's hard to tell today, but I think as we get closer, it will start to show itself. So it's, I wonder how much trading is actually going to go down. Like I said in the top here, why Ryan Poles said it could get wild. He says there's going to be more movement. I'm just curious as to at what point and for who. Like everybody, right? Like everybody. Who are they trading and why, or what's the draft compensation going to be like? All going to be, key things to watch, especially if it happens ahead of the Bears, and how that could impact, what teams are moving up and who are they going to select. That was, again, the big takeaways from Ryan Poles. And then we have Ian Cunningham. And not that there wasn't a lot there, because I do want to highlight just some of the things that he said, but his stance on the running backs, I think, was fascinating, and we'll definitely get into that. But first, we're going to take our first break here and kind of get into what he said. And then also, today's show, I think I answered, like, someone was asking, is there availability? I didn't even know. Like, I didn't get the email, and then I figured out in the morning of. And so today's show was supposed to be that live mock draft. Let's soft schedule that for tomorrow if nothing else happens. But I know today was supposed to be our mock draft day, and we just didn't. Things happen. When the GM, assistant GM, Brian Piccolo Award ceremony happens, kind of have to adjust, call an audible, if you will. But before we kind of move on to the second half of the show, got to take a quick break and tell everybody about Windy City Sports Cards. As you guys know, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you're a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, or the Blackhawks, they've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles, everybody. In addition to those Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. So visit their online store to find exactly what you're looking for to complete your collection or to discover a new favorite. Of course, you can check them out at 312-WindyCitySports.com. That's 312-WindyCitySports.com. And of course, everybody also has to check out my friends at Napleton Cadillac of Libertyville. This is the one-stop shop for all your needs. And what I mean by that, sales, service, parts, and body shop. It is all available at Napleton Cadillac of Libertyville, located on 1050 South Milwaukee Avenue in Libertyville, Illinois. The team prides themselves on their service, winning Dealership of the Year twice, everybody. And you got to check out their website, NapletonCadillacLibertyville.com. Easy to remember, to see all their new and pre-owned vehicles, including the new all-EV Cadillac Lyriq. It is a sweet-looking ride. Go check it out. And you can subscribe to their YouTube channel to view more of the vehicles, the sweet vehicles that they have, which you can find in the description below, everybody. It's super easy. So Napleton Cadillac of Libertyville, your one-stop shop for all your needs. All right, everybody, this is the Nicholas Moreano Show. I'm your host, Nicholas Moreano. Thank you for tuning in on your Tuesday afternoon. Back from Halas Hall, had some media availability, got a chance to hear from Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, the assistant GM, and then the Brian Piccolo Award ceremony was also being held at Halas Hall. That actually happened first, like I said at the top of the show. But I do want to still finish off with what Ian Cunningham had to say during his availability and what was different from this version of the end of the year press conferences as opposed to the ones in years past. They actually had Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles split up. So they each got a chance to be kind of solo. And Ryan Poles, like Bears PR kind of stated in the beginning, it's going to be not as many questions for Ryan Poles. He'll talk some extensions, some draft talk, but it mostly will be Ian Cunningham for the pre-draft process. And I think it's just a good opportunity for Ian. Still looking, I mean, we all knew, especially early January, February, just his kind of process and what he was doing at the time, interviewing for head coaching jobs. And, he was pretty candid about that process and basically stating that it was awkward, right? He's going out and he's grateful that the Bears allowed him to kind of do his own thing, but going in like interviewing for the job in Tennessee, and while that's kind of going on, the Bears are finalizing some of the coaching staff here in Chicago, but he's over there interviewing in Tennessee. But just mentioned it was a little awkward because he's trying to do his own thing, but also, there's stuff going on still back where obviously he has been the last 3 years. And then, once that process kind of settles, then Jacksonville comes calling and he's kind of doing the same exact process again. But awkward was the word that, Ian Cunningham used. And he isn't unfamiliar, with kind of the process and not getting a job and not getting that, GM job, but it was just another year of him kind of going through this and ending up still being with the Bears, which I think helps the Bears out. But personally, for that personal gain, still looking obviously to be a GM. And, if things start to head in the right direction here in Chicago, I think that's going to help his case a little bit more to finally land, one of these 32 general manager jobs. Jimmy, yo, sup, Nick? Yo, sup, Jimmy? What's going on, you guys? Is that Bilbo Baggins? Looks like Bilbo Baggins. Ball. Love the Lord of the Rings. Love the Hobbit. All that stuff. Can't get my fiance to watch it though. Super disappointing. Told her about how we watched the uncut versions of all 3 Lord of the Rings movies all in one day. Great day back in the day, but she's definitely not down for it. Too bad. I'll get back on track here. Ian Cunningham. I mentioned it before the break that he was asked about, and I believe this is Chris Emma, if I'm not mistaken, asked about like the running back position, how you weigh the instant reward for drafting a guy, high up, and also longevity in the long term of, that type of position, the running back spot. And this is what Ian Cunningham had to say. And I think this is how the Bears are truly going to approach this. He said, I think the value is if he is a playmaker and a really good player, you take a really good player. That's the beauty of our process. Our philosophy is best player available. Yeah, we weigh premium positions versus non-premium positions, but at the end of the day, it's a playmaker. And if we see him in that role, I think you could take a playmaker that's not a premium position. If you are a Ashton Genty, no matter what type of guy, I think that resonates with you. Resonates with you in the sense that if he's there, the Bears will take him. And you know what, regardless, before that statement, I do think if he's there at 10, the Bears will take Ashton Genty. But I think it's just a good philosophy to also stand by. If he's a good football player, regardless of position, we're going to take him, especially if he's the playmaker. Like, we don't have to overcomplicate this. Ashton Genty is one of the best prospects we've seen especially in this draft, but at the running back spot. He just so happens to be a running back, but he's a weapon. He's a playmaker. He's someone that helps Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, the offensive line, his fellow, skilled players, teammates on offense. Probably going to give the defense a little bit of a breather too if you can rely on a guy like that to run the rock. So it's like, let's not overcomplicate things. Now, I will say this. I don't know if I've said this before in a previous podcast or anything. That being said, with Ashton Genty, all the great things I just said about him, I'm not moving up to go get him. Okay? Like that, for me, I don't think that is the right approach here. You have some very valuable draft assets. Not after 10, 39, 41, 72. Where if you have to use those assets to go get a guy like that, knowing what this running back class is, that I think is bad business to me. And I get it. Like the grades might show that Ashton Genty is far and ahead above every single guy, and maybe in number 2, Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. And then however you look at it, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, or Travion Henderson, Judkins from Ohio State. Even if that may be the case where he's that much higher graded on the Bears board or whoever, I'm not moving up for him. And I'm definitely not going to want to give up that draft capital coming up. Because the Bears do still have holes that they need to fix. They need pass rushers. They need interior defensive linemen. You can use a safety. You need a running back. So I that just wouldn't be what I'm doing there. But I thought that was interesting for Ian Cunningham. Just, again, how they kind of view the position and how they would approach it if that were to come, that scenario plays out. Maybe Ashton Genty's there at 10. Like I said, I think they take him. The other things that, Ian Cunningham was asked, and this was early on after his opening comments, was there just a lot of adjustment that needed to be made with the new coaching staff? And what Cunningham did say is that there was a bit of adjustment in terms of evaluating for certain scheme. Not offensively, he didn't say that didn't change too much, but defensively, there was a little bit of where the scouts, the team had to adjust kind of what they were looking for in players to match up with what the coaches are looking for. So it makes sense. I mean, Dennis Allen, how he operates versus Matt Eberflus, yes, there's going to be similarities. And of course, you're going to want athletic, long, like football players that can stay or fit the edge and things like that. But there are just going to be certain things that are different for every coaching staff. So that is something that Ian Cunningham highlighted as differences that were happening now with Ben Johnson's coaching staff as opposed to what was there and then what the scouts were maybe looking for when Eberflus was the head coach and when he had his staff here. But other than that, you guys, there really wasn't too much. And I'm kind of looking through some of the other transcripts and some of the questions that were asked, and just to see if I'm missing anything that's truly noteworthy, but nothing that I believe is eye-popping that you need to absolutely know. Again, these press conferences are available on YouTube, and I highly recommend if you were listening to me kind of talk about Ryan Poles and when he answered the question about the pool of players at 10, go watch it and make your conclusion for yourself. But like I said, to me, it didn't scream like they're moving up. Anything would be moving back, but it might just be, they feel good about the players there. I don't know if it's a lot as much as he's saying, but about the players that are going to be available if they stay at 10. All right. Well, that was the press conferences from the GM and assistant GM, but also, like I said, before that even started, the Bears had their Brian Piccolo Award ceremony. And, this is something that, I've been to now 3 or 4 times, and you could just tell how much this award really means, not only to the players that do win the award, but also just the entire organization. You see the McCaskies there, you see family members from Brian Piccolo's family members there. And just the wanting to honor Brian Piccolo's memory and doing so with this award ceremony every year. And so when guys like TJ Edwards and Rome Odunze go up to speak pretty quickly about it, it's not a very long speech or anything like that, you could see that it means stuff to them. And for Rome, I know he said that he felt touched by how it was Brian Piccolo's daughter's son that also got a chance to speak, and like how it touched him. And TJ Edwards, like I said, was a back-to-back winner of this, so he knows how much this means to the organization. And actually, really quickly, if I can find this, the closing words, closing remarks that TJ Edwards had for his press conference, really quickly, when he officially won the award. Here we go. One of the greatest ways to honor Virginia McCaskey would be to go out there and do what we need to do on the field. And that was kind of how he ended his time at the podium when he was announced as a Brian Piccolo Veteran Award winner. So you can just tell it means a lot. And also Ben Johnson showing that he's a poet, man. I was not expecting that, and I don't think anybody who was sitting there listening to Ben Johnson or the McCaskey were expecting that either. But he wrote the poem "More Than a Jersey" for Brian Piccolo. I don't know if I should read all of this right now. It's pretty lengthy, so again, it might just be. Actually, I don't know if that's out there on YouTube yet. I don't know. I haven't seen if the Bears have put that out there. I would assume that it will be in some form or fashion. But Ben Johnson put some thought, a really good thought, into this poem that he titled "More Than a Jersey" for Brian Piccolo. And again, very surprising, but again, just shows how much it means to the organization, means to Ben Johnson, even though he's only been here for a couple months now, that they just want to make sure that they honor his legacy the right way, but I think just honor the Bears in the right way, knowing how much Brian Piccolo meant to the organization. So after that award ceremony kind of gets done with TJ Edwards, Rome Odunze also get a chance to speak to the media at the podium, and I know that's available on YouTube right now. But I got a chance to ask TJ Edwards about, Dennis Allen said that he's going to play middle linebacker and outside linebacker, and just kind of how he feels about that. And he just said that at this point they're only installing, but he also mentioned that he's played the mic for most of his career, but also has that experience the past 2 seasons under Eberflus playing the outside linebacker and played a lot of will, he said. But in this defense, you just kind of have to understand everything. And I think that's going to be, I guess, one of the biggest differences that you'll see from Dennis Allen to Matt Eberflus is like the position flexibility that he's going to ask for from his defensive players. That's just one of them. But as TJ has always said, like, he's going to do whatever is asked of him, and of course he is. Like, that's the kind of player he is, and that's the kind of teammate he is. Whatever's asked of him, he's going to do, and do it hopefully the right way. But one of the other things being asked about, or that was asked to TJ, because he wanted to stay here. Like, that was definitely something that he emphasized in the beginning about his contract extension. It was something that he felt like it was special here. So he was asked, like, what makes you believe that it's going to be special here? Just to kind of elaborate on that, because to be completely honest, we haven't seen a lot of winning here in Chicago, and TJ Edwards hasn't been a part of a lot of winning here in Chicago. So what makes you believe that it's going to be special here? And this is what TJ Edwards had to say. I think it's just the way we are operating. I feel like, again, Coach Johnson has come in and done a great job of putting his plan out. This is my 7th offseason, so I've kind of seen what this looks like in a way. I feel like he's coming at in a way of being open and direct. I think it's something we're all understanding to get better in general, coaches included, but I think he's done a good job of getting everyone to understand where we are at and where we are trying to go. And I think that's a lot of what's going on right now. It's just kind of getting to understand everybody, understand the plan, understand how Ben Johnson operates, and making sure that message is kind of just spread across the entire football team. And like TJ has said, this is 7th offseason. He's been part of a team that's been to a Super Bowl in the Philadelphia Eagles and hasn't had much success here in Chicago, but he does know what it looks like to get to that final stage, that final game. Hopefully this team, this roster, this coaching staff can do those right things consistently enough to get back to, a time where, a game that TJ didn't come up on the winning end of. For Rome Odunze, really quickly, again, there wasn't too much being said, but he was asked about on improvements he can make in his game going from year one, year two. And he kind of just highlighted a bunch of different things. I mean, it's honing in on all different things. This is verbatim. That includes blocking, that includes knowing the scheme of the run game, being violent at the point of attack, route running, catching, contested catch, all those different things that in the envelope of what wide receiver play is, I think is important. I'm just looking to hone in all those different things matched to the scheme. I think I had the capability to do it last year, but it's just being able to unfold that this year and let it all come out on the field with the right pieces intact, I think will be huge. We're all expecting. I think I'm expecting a huge jump from Rome Odunze in year two. He's definitely capable of it, especially now that you don't have a guy like Keenan Allen who may be taking some of those potential routes or reps from him. And from what I saw last year, it's a guy that can get open. Once him and Caleb consistently get on that same page, especially on plays over the middle of the field, like they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. I know that for sure. It's going to take them both understanding this scheme and understanding it at the right pace to get Rome to that next level. He was also asked about why am I blanking on the Caleb Williams, the interview that he did for the magazine, blanking on the name of the magazine, but in it, there was a part that highlighted the difficulties that Caleb openly dealt with, especially with the losses of last season. And Rome was asked about that as well. And, he felt that same type of kind of defeat that Caleb was feeling in terms of being in this position that they hadn't been in before, where they're losing as much as they did, but feeling like this weight on them, feeling that, it was something that they weren't familiar with, but it kind of kept piling on. So that definitely was something that the rookies were dealing with, and I'm sure other players were dealing with as well. And that's why it's so important that even at the end of last season, getting that win in Green Bay, I know a lot of players and coaches will say things don't translate to next season, but there is the best alternative for that team at that point in time, already on a 10-game losing streak, was how it ended in Green Bay. Getting that walk-off victory with Cairo Santos field goal to beat Green Bay in Lambeau Field. That, I think, does help going into next season. And, there's so much time from the end of that game to what week one will be in 2025. But to me, based off of how things were getting at that season, 10 losses in a row, you needed that. So you don't have that same dreadful feeling as you end last season. You ended on a high note. They're quote unquote Super Bowl beating the Green Bay Packers. It had been a while too, especially in Green Bay. But Rome definitely highlighted those difficulties that he also experienced as well as his quarterback in Caleb Williams. But other than that, you guys, I'm kind of looking at just more anything else that I'm kind of missing on, but there isn't too much here. So, I mean, that's where I'll probably end this episode. And I promise, actually, I don't want to promise because I would have broke today's promise if we were doing the live mock draft. But that is definitely the intention for tomorrow's show. So be ready to draft live. We get a mock draft going. Let's see how quickly we can do the first mock draft. And then the second one, we can maybe try to involve some trades or whatnot. But if the first one we're debating, I'm going back and forth with whoever's in the chat tomorrow about who we should take at 10, 39, 41, 72, and so forth. Then that might just be the show. But that is definitely the intention for tomorrow. I have reached out to some people too to see if we can get them on the podcast. I won't say names because I don't want to, get your hopes up. But maybe things might be a little bit flexible. But that is definitely the intention for tomorrow. Do a mock draft one day before the 2025 NFL draft and see how damn accurate we're going to be. We're not going to get close, but that's okay. And we're just gonna pick the Bears. We're not gonna pick every single team because that's where it gets insane. I already see Anthropology 2000, Travion. Hey, 39.41. If he's there, we might take him. You gotta plead your case though. Because what if you're going for Travion, and what if Eric Bochan's saying somebody else? You got to be quick with the finger. You got to be quick with the typing. I got to see who's going to make the case. Ultimately, I'll make the final decision, and we got to factor in the picks afterwards. But should be fun. Eric Bochan, we are definitely aiming for 11 a.m. show. The quote unquote what should be the normal time for the show, but I've been doing it at every other time but that. So that will be the time. We will do the live draft tomorrow. So I need as much live viewers as I can possibly get so that we can have good back and forth. I'll make sure I have the beast up and loaded from the Athletic so we can kind of dive into some of the players. Obviously, I've done my homework. I'm sure all of you have done your homework up to this point too. So it'll be fun, good exercise, and one maybe the last mock draft of 2025, and then we can make a whole bunch of them next year as well. But that's going to probably do it for this episode, you guys. I apologize for coming on here a little bit later than I was intending, but this should be these next couple of shows too are going to be a little bit later too because of the draft and being at night. Maybe I'll do stuff in the morning. I still haven't planned that out yet, but there definitely will be content. Whether I'm writing stuff or, doing YouTube shorts or doing this as well. Like there will definitely be stuff. I'll be definitely also with Herb Howard from the Bigs, as we'll be putting content on their YouTube channel as well. So there's going to be a lot going on these next coming days, but should be fun. Two more days until what could be a wild 2025 NFL draft. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your Tuesday afternoon. I will see you all tomorrow for live mock draft. Don't forget it. Tell a friend. If that's the first episode they pop in, let them be a big part of making the draft what it could be. So that's going to do it, though. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios, Bears fans.
Bend over to your right.
What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans?
People want to hear me talk.